Welcome back in. Happy Friday, one and all. Hope you are doing well out there on this Veterans Day. And again, thank you to all who have served and are serving presently as well to allow us to do what we do. So you go back, guys, to the last time that the Eagles in Washington played. In some respects, a long time ago. It was week 3. Eagles won 24-8. The big difference here is Carson Wentz was still playing at the time. Did not play particularly well. The Eagles sacked him 9 times in that game. Some of that was just they did a great job beating Washington's offensive line, but we also know with Carson, he will hold the ball too long as well. So Washington had won 2 in a row or 3 in a row, excuse me, and then they lost last week. And a pretty winnable game, actually. They were up on the Vikings and really kind of coughed it up in part because Taylor Heineke had a couple bad picks. But nonetheless, they go into this game as a team that's under 500. They are 4-5. So, Barrett, the question I have for you is, what are some of the keys to this game for the Eagles?
I really believe this team has to win their individual matchups. More so individual matchups than team conceptually matchups. Of course, you got, the wide receiver position where you have Terry McLaurin and Curtis Samuels. Those guys, our DBs had to cover them. Yeah, we got that. But some individual matchups like Jordan Mailata versus Chase Young if he plays, and even still Montez Sweat if he goes to that side. 2 guys that have the best get off I've seen in a long time when they're playing. You know what I'm saying? Especially Sweat. Sweat gets off the ball so fast, and that's the only guy that I really have a sample size for right now when I was watching film. He gets off the ball quick and fast. And they have James Smith-Williams also. He's all right. He's not somebody that I'm overly concerned about, but I am concerned about, Montez Sweat versus Jordan Mailata right now, simply because he hasn't played up to the expectation or played at a high level. And you got to play at a high level when playing against Sweat. Sweat gets off so fast. We're talking about a guy that ran a 4.3 or 4.4 40 at the combine when he played. I know he's like, he got drafted back in 2019, but still, he's still just as quick as ever. He's really come into his own as far as being a pass rusher on the outside. I think Chase Young is going to play. And if he does play, he's got to put his big boy pants on, so he has to make sure that he comes out ready to play. The snap count issues can't be a problem. He's got to get off on the snap count, kind of like Lane does. You got to retool, rethink, whatever you got to do to make that happen again, you got to do it because you got to be more aggressive at the point of attack. You got to be more aggressive. His get off used to be getting off like Lane got off and like, Jason Peters used to get off. Mm-hmm. You've got to get off quick so it gives you enough time to set up and wait for him to get to you. Get out there, bam. And then once it is, that's when the fight starts. When you initiate contact because you're waiting for him to come, now you can put it on him. You can't allow him to get to your side because once he gets even with you, he's leaving. Once the defensive end gets to the side of you, he's gone. He's going to turn the edge. He's going to turn the door, and he's going to go right by you. He's got to get out faster and play strong with his inside hand and not let defensive ends get to his outside hand so easily. And that's the problem. That's probably why his shoulder hurts so much. He's been letting people use him as a turnstile. What I mean? Going around like this. See that? That's bad football right there. You hurt your elbow doing that way. You know what I mean? Can't be that turnstile, man. But that's the problem. So to me, that's a key matchup to me. Another matchup that, we haven't really talked about in a long time because TJ Edwards has played at a high level. But we saw Pierce run so much on us. He had like almost 150. He had 150 yards. Like a
big game.
Yards.
Yeah.
Well,
big game.
When I equate a running back running like that, I got to give it to the middle linebacker. I need TJ Edwards. He's got to be that spearhead that he's been the past couple weeks before that. He's got to go make a play, get those big guys up in front to protect them, and then he's got to go get them. I saw too many times where he was behind the play and getting blocked at a play and couldn't get off on the tackle. So him versus Brian Robinson Jr. is a key matchup for me. Another key matchup I'm talking about is Logan Thomas on C.J. Gardner-Johnson.
Tight end, yep.
We're talking really good. He's a really good pass-catching tight end. He hasn't done really anything this season, but we don't want this game to be the game that he comes out and has his coming out party. Mm-hmm. We don't want him to be an impact player. And we know how tight ends can really mess you up. Seeing, how Dallas Goedert messes up a lot of teams. He has the same skill set. He has that speed, awareness of where he needs to be because he's a former quarterback.
Yeah.
So he knows where he needs to sit down. He knows where he needs to stop and make himself available for the quarterback, especially on blitzing downs. I think we're going to blitz him a little bit more than usual because on run downs, I think they're going to try to make sure TJ Edwards is a part of that blitzing package on run downs, meaning first and second down. So, that's just what I'm saying. Those are my key matchups in the game that I'm going to be looking for on Monday.
How about you, Gunnar?
Well, let me ask you this, Barrett. Because it's been talked about and brought to the coaching staff's attention, do you expect to see a much better tackling effort? Now, you're talking about two pretty good-sized backs in Robinson and Antonio Gibson.
Good ones, too.
And even if Washington's offensive line is suspect, we said the same thing about Houston's offensive line, and lo and behold, look what happened. Pierce had 139 yards running on that defense. Do you expect to see a better concerted effort to wrap up and tackle? Or and for the last few weeks, I'm seeing too many guys trying to lay shoulders into the upper shoulder pads of bigger backs, and the would-be tacklers are just bouncing off people. Do you expect them to go down and try to bring it and wrap them down, or it is what it is?
At this, we've all seen it before. This team overcorrects. Overcorrects like no other being. Just like everybody's talking about Smitty. And Devonta Smith, hasn't been getting the ball a lot. Well, you saw what he did the first time they said that versus the Vikings, and then the next week you see what type of game
right away
Smitty had.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's going to be the same thing. They overcorrect so much that tackling from the first week of tackling to the second week against Minnesota, they overcorrected. They made sure that they tackled well from that point on, and a lot of it had to do with placement as far as, being in your gaps, understanding where your run fits are, knowing where you're supposed to be at. And when you get there, go for the tackle. It's not all about creating a turnover. Get the tackle. Get the guy on the ground first.
Yeah. Too
many times they got converted first downs because they weren't tackling the guy. Instead of taking care of business at the point of attack, they were trying to strip the ball. You got to get on them first. The first guy's got to tackle him. Then the second guy's got to come and try to get the ball out. It's not about them going up and trying to knock a guy down. No, you got to tackle. Secure the tackle first, then let the rest of your troops come in and try to strip the ball. And they did that the second game against Minnesota. They were like one and done. As soon as they was catching, boom, stop right there. No yak yardage. They've got to go out that same type of intensity, that same type of piss and vinegar that they did that second game, man. They got to really make it an emphasis to stop as soon as they get the ball, tackle them right there.
I will tell you, the guy they targeted, the Eagles offense targeted the last game was Kendall Fuller. His numbers against. So the Eagles got 9 catches, 152 yards, and a touchdown on 11 targets. They're going after him again. Make no mistake.
No question.
No question.
So, there's going to be some guys that get tested in that secondary. They've shook things up a little bit, has Washington. But still, I think this is another game where you can hurt them in the air. I think it's where they're gonna go after them. It may not be a huge running game again.
I can see Jalen dropping a few dimes over the top of the shoulder of Fuller right into the arms of AJ, streaking down the sideline again. Houston couldn't stop that.
Or Devonta, who had a monster game against them. Yeah,
Houston couldn't stop it. See no reason why, as we sit here right now, to believe Washington can stop that. I really don't, unless Washington's front seven can get better pressure on Jalen, make him throw the ball sooner than he wants to. That's the only way I see that changing.
Well, Derek, that's a part of the problem that this team was having.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That they've got to do something, man. They've got to do something. Too many times that we've allowed that to happen, man. We can't let that happen, bro. We can't let that happen.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I think a couple things that when you look at this Eagles team, like for me, I think this debate of whether they should lose a game or whatever, I think ultimately it's just going to be moot because I think they're going to lose. But I think the most likely for me, the losses, I'm looking at week 14 at the Giants, week 16 at Dallas. They could lose 2 out of 3 games. It's not out of the question.
That's true.
They're the 2 I'm looking at, and there could be something before that. And it's not necessarily the worst thing. I don't think it's the end of the world that's what it's going to be. I know people will go overboard with it. You could still potentially end up being 14-3, or 15-2, which is ridiculously good. And that still gets you home field advantage too.
Right. And if that's the case, I can see them giving away the last game of the season because they're resting players.
Possibly.
I can see that happening as well.
See, I don't like that, man. And I'm glad.
Yeah, but it
that,
happened. But Barrett, we see it every year in the NFL.
I know,
how many teams pull players?
My experience is that every time I've done that, we lost. We did at the first year we played against my first year with Ben. Ben rattled off 13 games in a row. Went into the playoffs. We went in there and we rested starters. Even though we won the game, we rested starters.
Right.
And then our starters came back in and played horribly.
Yep.
We went into the next year, the Super Bowl year, and we didn't rest anybody. Everybody played. Everybody that started. And we won the Super Bowl. But it was a little difference in the aspect that we didn't have home field advantage. We played on the road. We had 3 games on the road. So it was like a sense of urgency, especially when you're on the road. It's a sense of urgency when you go and you're going into a hostile environment. If you're playing at home, we all know the hostile environment is here. Nobody wants to come play us here in any sport here. Mm-hmm. This is we got the best fans in the world as far as being ready to give you everything you want. So it's imperative if this team gets home field advantage, I can see us making a road trip to Arizona if we get home field advantage. But as far as us losing or resting people, I know they are just from knowing this coaching staff. We know this coaching staff. They don't like people to play in the preseason, let alone going into the playoffs and they gotta, they feel as though we gotta rest our guys. We gotta give them all the breaks they want. We gotta make sure they're healthy enough to go into the season. Not worrying about the lack of consistency that can come with that.
Well, I think what I would do, Barrett, if it's 1 or 2 games where you have everything locked up, I would get those guys a little bit of time because you're going to have a bye week the next week. You don't want them off for 3 weeks or 2 weeks from actual real game action. I'm at least playing them a half just to keep them sharp. I'm not messing around with that.
I don't see him playing a half.
Well,
to be honest,
Derek, that's a long time to sit.
I agree.
Versus, think about it, the team you're going to be playing is going to be like probably had to win, roll to get in.
I agree 100%, but that's not what we've seen over the past decade. It doesn't happen. The trend has been, if you're going to play them, just to let them work up a sweat, maybe a couple series, maybe a quarter. Then all of a sudden you start seeing all these second and third tier guys that have been waiting to play all season. We see it all the time, and I don't see the Eagles bucking that trend. I agree with you 100%. You got to keep them sharp mentally and physically. I agree, but that's not what we've seen across the board.
It's not. You know Sirianni just like I know Sirianni.
Yes, man.
We got to give our guys a rest. I mean, the mere fact that they played not this last Thursday, but the Thursday before last. Was this last Thursday? Or Thursday before last?
A week ago, yes.
A week ago, yeah. So they played back. They didn't practice until Wednesday.
Yes.
What kind of mess is that?
Yeah, see?
Never seen that before. Never in my life I've seen that.
I know, but their counter would be, Barrett, and again, some of this is luck. We all know that. They're probably the least injured team in football.
Absolutely. And you know what? During that time where I was doing it, we weren't very good. The team, we were just okay going into the halfway point of the season. Mm-hmm. The Steelers, we going from a bye week. He would tell us, we played on Sunday. He'd tell us, all right, if we had a bye week, we'll see you next Monday. No, it wouldn't be next Monday. We see him on Friday, Thursday or Friday. We'll probably have a walk through or a jog through on Thursday or Friday, and then he'll give us off until like Tuesday. And then we'll go in, implement everything, and then practice hard on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday as usual. We never had that time. We never had enough time that we could go somewhere.
Right.
Like these cats are going on islands and leaving out of the country. How is that even possible?
On ATVs and all this stuff.
Stay off the ATVs.
Time to. How do you go outside of the country? You could have never gone outside of the country. It'd take you that long just to leave. Or take you a day to leave, and then to get back is another day and a half.
Well, unless you go to the Bahamas, that's a quick trip. But still,
right? Exactly. I never wanted to risk anything, and guys I played with didn't want to risk anything like that.
Right.
Because you leave. I remember Joey Porter. Joey Porter went to Denver, got shot in the ass.
That's true. Yeah, that's a good
did.
point. I remember that. That's a good point.
Got shot in the ass. So I mean,
Hey, Rob.
I hate when that
Rob's
happens.
Rob's
what did you
like,
say you?
I've been shot in the ass a couple of times. It had nothing to do with a gun. Just maybe too many cocktails, too many beverages.
Rob,
Slightly overserved.
Rob, not to deviate too much, but I got to ask you this question.
Yeah.
From what you thought this show might be compared to what it's been from April 18th to now, how different has it been for you?
Better.
Okay.
Better than I thought it was.
That's such a great politically correct
It's
answer.
true.
Huh?
It's true. I love that we're not just we do X and O, but we don't just X and O. That's what I love about it.
I tell you, I equate it to 3 class clowns having fun, man.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Hey, Jeremiah Butler's got a great question. Do you guys think they're reserving Dean for health/depth purposes, or is he just not that good yet?
I'm gonna tell you this. Give me my viewpoint, or you going?
No, you go first.
I think he just can't beat out the guy in front of him. There's no question this kid is good, but TJ Edwards is playing. He's playing damn good. And why fix it if it's not broke? Why would you take a guy like TJ Edwards out when you have, or even Kazir White, when those guys are playing they're playing at such a high level, not maybe Pro Bowl. I don't know if you would say Pro Bowl level, not TJ Edwards position, because there's a lot of guys like that kid Brooks up in Seattle. He's playing to that level, which is a Pro Bowl level, but he's playing. TJ Edwards is playing right up there with him. He's one of the most consistent guys I've seen play the LP position in a long time. In fact, he's the best I've seen there over the last 10, 15 years at the middle linebacker position.
Yeah, I think they're it's not every rookie is ready to step in. And the good thing is you have players in front. Years past, with the awful linebackers the Eagles have had, he would have been playing right away.
He would have been playing right now. And not to say he wouldn't play even higher level. It's just he's not good enough right now to beat out the guys in front of him, especially not Kazir White. Kazir White is playing. You don't hear his name a lot, but sometimes you don't hear a guy's name a lot because they don't try him.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You never heard Dion's name
right
when it comes to pass defenses and things like that, because it just never threw to his side. And when he did, he made him pay for it. Kazir's kind of the same thing. Kazir White is balling. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? His coverage has been immaculate. He's consistent all the time. Usually when you hear guys' names is when they're messing up.
Well, I think too that it's a good problem to have again. Everyone falls in this category, but they have a bunch of guys who are free agents. They're getting some really hard decisions to make. Kazir White's one of them. Well, Kazir White, Miles Sanders,
right? CJ Gardner-Johnson. CJ
Gardner-Johnson is another one. Is TJ Edwards in the last year of his deal?
Yes. TJ Edwards. Yep.
So, this is going to be, and you're going to have to pay the
James
quarterback
Bradbury
probably in the offseason, which means you're really
up against it.
Going to have to make some people go bye-bye, unfortunately. You better hope the Kobe Dean can play, because one of these guys probably isn't back.
Well, you still got Fletcher Cox and Hargrave also.
True.
So, who at this point, who do you see them signing and keeping here? You got to keep one of those two guys.
It's usually
Fletcher or Hargrave.
It's usually now when they re-up a guy, around this time in season where they re-up a guy, so it doesn't get to that point. So I would expect a couple things to be coming down the road. You're going to see, here's what you're going to see. So-and-so's contract restructured and he's getting bonus money and it's coming off the years or whatever. You know how they always do that kind of thing.
Yep.
So I think that's where it's going to start. That'll be the first thing. That'll be the tell. And then 2 days later, Eagles re-up, whoever. I mean, just watch for it. That's the breadcrumbs that you see once they restructure somebody, because it's happening for a reason, that something's coming.
Right. So that's another good question. He's saying it's not even a question, statement. I would rotate Dean just to give him some time behind the stick.
Yes, I've said you had 2 games. You could have given him some. So that's a big question mark to me.
Yes,
because you put in the subs at other positions. Why can't he get on the field and get some reps? Except special teams. What is going on here,
bro? You know what's bad?
Maybe he's not ready.
Right. I'm looking at this. Is what you guys do. Look at him after the game and look at his jersey. And this will be a telltale sign in this jersey this game, because they're playing on natural grass. I've seen him come up off the field, and this jersey is just as clean and white as ever. That means he's getting no burn. Yeah. And when he is getting burned on specialty, he ain't doing nothing. I say an awful clean jersey.
But think about how hard that Barrett, I know you lived it, but how hard it's got to be for a guy who's every level dominated and
yes,
and been on the field constantly, and then all of a sudden it's like, man, I'm not used to standing here. This is weird, man.
bro.
And Rob,
you're absolutely right. Yeah.
Rob, I agree with you. Maybe he's not ready, but what you do, especially in games that are over, get him out there, let him make his mistakes. You sit down with him in a film session like you always do each and every week, and you go over, okay, these are the little things that we notice that you're not doing right. That's how you get him better.
No, you're right. You're right. And he's already active because he's playing special teams.
Yes,
it's not like he's not. Yeah, right. That's
hey,
fair.
Barrett, I want to hear your answer to this. I mean, I hate to deviate, but I have to because I'm trying to find a person who asked the question. Somebody said, "Hey, what does "da" mean?"
There it is.
What?
There it is.
Plain and simple. There it is.
There it is.
Okay.
What was the genesis of it? Where'd it come from?
No, it just came out of the blue. It was in a chat. Oh,
no, I'm saying, how did Barrett come up with it?
Yeah, how'd you come up with that?
And it came from me. I'm sitting back and I was on, and I heard abracadabra one time, and I just heard it in my head. And then somebody asked me a question, and I said, "Well, there it is, da." So I mean, it came from abracadabra to da. I don't know how I correlated the two.
So if you had to sit
CT Big Birds.
So if you had to sit across from a prospective employer, and you're in an interview session, and the employer says, "Well, Barrett, I can see that you're qualified," or "Barrett, I can see that, man, you're not what we're looking for." Your line would be da. And I'm sitting there as somebody about to hire you, going, "I ain't hiring this nut."
No, he's gonna say da. I say he can be, and what it's gonna do is gonna capture him for a second. He goes da.
Yeah, what did he just say?
Right.
Da.
And then he'll remember it because then he gonna turn around and say, "Oh, he's gonna say, sir, that just means there it is."
Did he say la-di-da or da? What did he say? What?
Hey, did you guys see this? Just to veer off of the Eagles for 1 second last night. So the game was terrible, right? And we all, and anybody who watched any second of it acknowledges that.
I did, and I watched every single second too.
I did.
But I give props to Jake Matthews. So his wife gives birth like hours before the game in Atlanta. He catches a flight, hustles, makes it there just before the game started. He started the game and played the game, and it was his 137th consecutive start. It's the longest active streak in the NFL. Props, man. That's
unbelievable.
They had him in the hallway. Literally, he's running. He's in shorts. He wasn't even in his uniform. He run, blah blah blah. Gets in there like I'm telling you, got dressed and was on the field and played like with no warm up, barely any warm up at all.
And they still lost.
Yeah. Yeah, but
that's dedication, man. You covered both areas. You were there with your wife for the birth, and you got to go do your job at the same time.
Yeah.
Bro, that's got to be unbelievable because I ain't gonna lie.
I wouldn't have been.
My daughter China, I was in camp, and she was born the day before the game we played against Tampa Bay. Needless to say, I didn't see my baby being born, and she brings it up like at least once or twice a month.
Oh, you may okay.
And she's 20 years old. Someone said, "Dad, you need to come see me born."
Oh man, that's rough.
She always saying it too. She said all the time, dog.
Remind her about the roof over her head.
I do.
Yeah.
Then I hit her. I say, "Look, you don't pay any bills here. You live here rent free. What are you talking about?" Well, Dad, and I told her, there it is.
You could have been a little bit more comforting. You could have said something like,
"I was comforting. I was
dear,
comforting the first 16 years of her life. I spent a whole 16 years saying, 'My fault, babe,' but I was trying to feed the family."
All right, hold on. I need to say, whoever has the pen, put it down.
Yeah, who is that?
That's me.
Put it down.
What is you in this pen?
Back away from the pen.
Yes, this has been going on for the last 45 minutes.
We've all done it, so it's a natural habit where you're going like this.
Yes.
When you're on the air. It can be a little grainy.
See what I mean? He's having flashbacks again. I'm telling you, he needs to be checked.
I'm telling you.
This dude needs to be checked out.
No, I've done it too. we all
Big
have
birds.
Yes, we all do it. All right, well, we're gonna get a timeout. We'll do a little hybrid Sixers, little Flyers, little Phillies. We'll keep the NFL talk going. So at 2:00. We will dig into the Week 10 schedule, what's coming up, the best games, NFL power rankings, top 5, and then Dan Koob coming up at 2:30. So don't go anywhere. We got you covered. He's Barrett. He's Derek. I'm Rob. We are Sports Take, JAKIB Sports YouTube Network. I want to tell you about Flynn Tree Services. Yes, Flynn Tree Services is an experienced, licensed, and insured Pennsylvania tree services company that will trim or remove any unwanted trees off of your property. They offer cost-effective solutions to any tree problem that you may face. So if you're not really sure, you can reach out to them and they'll let you know what they can do. They service southeastern Pennsylvania, South Jersey, northern Delaware, and they specialize in full tree removal, stump grinding, as well as tree pruning. So keep in mind, this time of year, nasty. We've got really nasty weather here in the Philadelphia area today with some rain. It's a great time to have your trees evaluated. You don't want to have an emergency where you're knocking some wires down, they're going into your house, someone's getting hurt, God forbid, any of that stuff. Get your trees evaluated. You go to their Facebook or Instagram page for more information or a sampling of their work. Give Flynn Tree Services a call at 610-850-2848, 610-850-2848, or online at flynntreeservices.com. That's flynntreeservices.com.